Jai Gurudev students. Today I will start another chapter, that is chapter number 14, Respiration in Plants. That one is a plant physiology part. So respiration in plant, what is respiration? It is an exergonic and catabolic physico-chemical process which involves the exchange of environmental oxygen and body carbon dioxide through a liquid medium and the oxidation of glucose inside the mitochondria to produce energy, which is partly stored in the high energy bond of ATP molecules as biologically useful energy. Now, in respiration, there is a three phases are there. All of you know about that. External respiration, internal respiration, and cellular respiration. And in this physical process, it involves exchange of gases of environment and carbon dioxide of the blood at the respiratory organ. Okay. So whatever the respiratory that is structure is present in plant, that is exchange is known as external respiration. Now internal respiration, and it is also the physical process, and it involves exchange of oxygen of blood in case of the organisms, that is in case of the animals, and carbon dioxide of the cell at the cellular level. Now in case of cellular respiration, it is an enzymatically controlled and different steps are there. It's a chemical process in which glucose is oxidized inside the mitochondria to produce energy rich ATP. So respiration is a biochemical process. Now slowly we enter into the main respiration process. So all of you know there is a two type of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So in presence of oxygen, in absence of oxygen, you can divide the respiration as aerobic and anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, there is a four steps are there, that is glycolysis, then oxidative decarboxylation, Krebs cycle or TCA cycle, and another one is electron transport cycle. So let me start about the glycolysis. Now this one is a chain reaction of glycolysis. Now what is the definition of glycolysis? The definition of the glycolysis is that it is a step process by which one molecule of glucose, which is 6 carbon, break into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, that is 3 carbon, and there is a chain of reaction is there, and this glycolysis is also known as EMP pathway. Why? What is the full form of EMP? Embedded Markov's perennial pathway. I have given you the definition, and I have process also. Now in glycolysis, simple way you have to go through this chain. There is a 9 type of chemical reactions that takes place within this glycolysis. This one is a very, very important one. Glucose, one molecule of glucose converted into glucose 6 phosphate. So from glucose 6 phosphate, it is converted into fructose 6 phosphate. Now glucose when converted into glucose 6 phosphate, that is known as phosphorylation, means phosphorus is added. So that is known as phosphorylation, and here one ATP is converted into ADP. Okay. And then from glucose 6 phosphate to fructose 6 phosphate, it is known as isomerization, means same, just glucose converted into fructose, but 6 phosphate remains same. And next part, that is number 3, is known as phosphorylation. Now here again ATP converted into ADP, fructose 6 phosphate converted into fructose 1,6 diphosphate, means 2 phosphate. Now next part is cleavage breakdown, that is known as cleavage. So after cleavage, fructose 1,6 diphosphate converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and another one is glyceraldehyde 3 phosphate. Now From this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, it is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. That one is 2 molecule. That one is converted into diphosphoglycerate, and that is known as phosphorylation or dehydration. In case of phosphorylation, NAD converted into NADH. Okay. Now diphosphoglycerate, that one is converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. So this is known as dephosphorylation. Okay. From 3-phosphoglycerate, it is converted into phosphoglycerate. So rearrangement is the process. Then phosphoglycerate forms into phosphoenol pyruvate. Dehydration takes place, and phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate. So that is the last part, that dephosphorylation. And here again ADP converted into ATP. Now in this glycolysis process, before cleavage is first phase, known as first phase, before cleavage, and after cleavage that part is known as second phase. This is a very important one, glycolysis process, and you have to practice, you have to draw and you have to practice, and remember that there is a 9 steps are there, 9 types of reactions are there, and through which from glucose that pyruvate is formed. So that is the first part of the aerobic respiration. Okay, first part of the aerobic respiration is glycolysis. Now what is the second part of aerobic respiration? That is oxidative decarbosylation. In oxidative decarbosylation, theory part I have given you, but the main part is that is pyruvic acid forms acetyl group and ultimately it forms acetyl coenzyme, okay, by means of a enzyme A, and that process is pyruvic acid dehydrogenase complex. So that is the main equation which is takes place, reaction which is takes place in oxidative decarbosylation. That is the second part of aerobic respiration. Now the next part of aerobic respiration is Krebs cycle. Now this is known as Krebs cycle. So this pyruvic acid ultimately forms acetyl coenzyme A. So that one is the second part. This part is the second part. Formation of pyruvic acid is the first part, that is glycolysis, and from glucose to pyruvic acid glycolysis, and pyruvic to acetyl coenzyme A, that part is the second phase, that is oxidative decarbosylation, and now it will enters into the Krebs cycle. Okay, enters into the Krebs cycle. So with the add of that is water, it form first citric acid, it release water, cis aconitic acid, again hydrogenation takes place, isocitric acid, then here again NAD converted into NADH2, oxalosuccinic acid, kletoglutaric acid, succinyl coenzyme A, succinic acid, fumaric acid, malic acid, oxaloacetic acid, or it enters into the same way, that is again enters into the same pathway. Okay, and here that is formation of carbon dioxide takes place, which is released during the respiration, and again enters into the, that is Krebs cycle. So this is a Krebs cycle, is a very important one, and it is a third phase of aerobic respiration. In my next class I will discuss about the electron transport system.